Welcome to the big show. This is Investing with Confidence. I am your host, Joshua David, and we are happy to have you with us today. As always, I do have my great friend, and he is my great pal, Mr. Al Connickson. Al, how the heck you doing today?
Yeah, well, we are pals. I'm doing fantastic. How about you, Josh?
I'm doing really good too. It's always great to be back helping our listeners make better investing decisions. And Al, as we get into today's show, we had a wild week.
Oh, he was crazy.
Let's just call it was a roller coaster at Valley Fair. Now, we had a great opportunity as these markets dropped. I mean, the markets dropped. Every major stock
Right, it was down.
index dropped a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, about 3%, all three.
Got it. So, I mean, and that's a lot of opportunity. That's what we look for as traders, investors, is volatility and movement in up markets and in down markets. So today, some of the topics that we're going to cover here is these up markets, but how great these down markets are as well for investors. Before we do that, what's been happening this past week, some of the catalysts of these big moves, and how can us as the average person, how can we participate?
Yeah, we don't really have enough time in this hour to go over everything in detail that happened, but it's an action-packed week. We had all sorts of things going on. It was a big earnings week for a lot of the big names out there. GDP, it turns out it shrank 3.5% annually. That's the first time since 2009 that's happened. China overtook U.S. as a number one spot for foreign investment. People are based on those things I just mentioned, they're thinking, well, the market must have been down then. I understand why it's down. But then jobless claims were down.
Mm-hmm.
Apple and Facebook came out with record earnings. But what happened to them? Both of them down about 10% for the week. So what I'm getting at is the importance of doing exactly what we talk about every day, every week that we're here. You can't just look at opinions. You can't look at what's happening and think that you know how the market will react to it. You can think how you can have an idea of what you think should happen, but that doesn't always happen. Opinions become predictions. That's what people base their investment decisions on. And if you look at Apple, for example, with record earnings, people would have thought it would have gone up in value. It went down.
And that's all fundamental information. That creates opinions.
Right. And oftentimes, it's buy the rumor, sell the news, things like that. But the point is, there are factual things that you can rely on that happen on a repeatable basis. There are things that happen this week that are probably kind of a one-off thing that you can't really predict, and you probably want to stay away from because some people are probably going to get involved in these things and not know what they're doing and end up not being a good experience for them. But you're listening to the show for a reason. And maybe it's because you think the financial markets have the potential for financial rewards. The problem is a lot of people that feel that way just jump in with no or very little knowledge about how to achieve that potential reward. And it really comes down to this. It's that most people that are trying to, kind of take control of their own assets, maybe have more influence over what happens to their assets, do it the wrong way. They are basically just trading, investing, and acting and executing like other amateurs, not like the pros. It's sort of like you have an opponent out there. There's two sides to every trade, two parties to every trade. One side typically will be the Wall Street pros. It would be very similar to me getting into a ring with Mike Tyson. And how long do you think it would last? I would last. It would depend on how fast I could run away from him within the confines of that ring.
How fast can they ring that bell?
Exactly.
Or throw in the towel.
Would not be a good experience but if you put a young Muhammad Ali in the ring with Tyson, that's a different thing because they know how that sport works and they know how to not only be offensive, but to be defensive. And by offensive, I don't mean I mean it in a way where they know how to play that part of that sport.
Yeah.
So, but how do you then do what the pros are doing? Because they're not telling you what they're doing. They're not teaching you that. And the way you do that is to get the right education. And education is not just getting knowledge. It's training. The knowledge definitely is important, but it's training. It's hands-on training. It's building the skills because it's the skills that help you apply the knowledge to whatever the issue or the subject is that you're dealing with. In this case, it would be the markets.
Yeah, and those are some great points. I mean, a lot of people do, think about the markets and they think what may happen, Well, those are just opinions, and
Right.
opinions don't drive the market. And you have to understand how the institutions, how the banks, how the smart money is investing in these financial markets. And then the key is to trade like them, not like the typical public. And we're conditioned to do certain things. We're conditioned by Wall Street and brokers and advisors to look at all the news. You mentioned with Apple, the fundamentals were really good,
They're perfect. They were
but it
great
was down what you said, 10% this
for
past
the
week.
week. Yeah, but and same with Facebook. Both of them had record earnings.
Yeah, so the public is probably wondering what the heck is going on. That's why it's important to be educated, as Al's talking about, learning the knowledge, but also building the skills of trading and investing. Investing is a learned skill.
It's a process.
Al, we've had a wild week last week, a great week of opportunity.
Mhm.
And there's been a lot of terminology that's been talked about on the news that a lot of our listeners probably have never heard about, or if they have, aren't sure what that is. So in
Sure.
this next segment, I want to dissect some of the new terminology people have heard about in the stock market, but also how the smart money is creating income using these markets.
Sure.
This is Josh and Al, Investing with Confidence. We will be right back.